Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into the life and legacy of an absolute giant of football, Ernst Happel. He's a man whose name is literally etched into the foundations of modern European football. This guy laid down the tactical blueprints that today's greatest managers still use. But the fascinating thing, his personal demeanor was just as mysterious as his tactics were brilliant. Let's get into it. Picture this. It's the 1978 World Cup final. You're facing a wildly hostile crowd in Argentina, playing for the ultimate prize in global sports. Most managers would give the emotional speech of a lifetime, right? Not Happel. He looked at his Dutch national team and simply said, "Gentlemen, 2 points." And honestly, that brilliantly sums up his stoic, no-nonsense persona. He didn't need grand sweeping speeches because he fully expected his tactical setup and his players' discipline to do all the talking for him. Okay, let's jump into section 1, the silent mastermind. A man of few words and massive results.
To really understand his impact, you have to look at the sheer scale of his success. Get this, Happel racked up a staggering 643 wins over 1,137 games managed. We're talking about a career win percentage of over 56%, spanning decades of top-flight football. It just proves that his actions on the pitch spoke way louder than his words ever could. He wasn't out there trying to build a personal media brand. He was entirely focused on building unstoppable winning machines.
So where did this all start? Let's hit section 2, Foundations of a Tactician, from rapid weaned to the world stage.
Well, long before he was whispering orders from the touchline, Happel was an absolute force on the pitch as a defender. He anchored his hometown club, Rapid Wien, for 14 years, debuting when he was just 17 years old. He went on to win 6 Austrian championships, earn 51 caps for the national team, scoring 5 goals, and even helped Austria secure a bronze finish in the 1954 World Cup. That elite winner's mentality? Yeah, it was forged right from the very beginning.
But honestly, his football stats kind of pale in comparison to his World War II survival story. It perfectly captures his unbelievable resilience. As a youth player, he flat out refused to sing Hitler Youth songs and was kicked out. Later, he was conscripted to the Eastern Front in 1943, captured by American forces in 1945, and, get this, he managed to escape a POW train by literally jumping out of a moving wagon in Munich. He then spent months making his way back to Vienna, smuggling himself into the Soviet occupation zone for one reason, just so he could play football for Rapid Vienna again. It's that fierce, borderline stubborn determination that would come to define his entire managerial career. All right, moving on to section 3, Conquering Europe's Top Leagues, a Trail of Domestic Dominance. The magic number here is 4. Happel is part of a super exclusive breed of managers, having captured top-flight domestic league championships in 4 completely distinct countries. He didn't just find a cozy, comfortable system in one familiar league. No, he proved that his tactical genius could be exported and wildly successful in the Netherlands, Belgium, West Germany, and his native Austria. Just look at this timeline. It's like a roadmap of absolute dominance. We see a manager who just couldn't be stopped. He started making waves with ADO Den Haag in 1962, grabbing the Dutch Cup. Then it's on to Feyenoord in 69, Club Brugge in 74, Hamburg's SV in 81, and finally wrapping up with Swarovski Tyrol in 87. It is an undeniable trail of trophies, systematically conquering one European region right after another. And this is where it gets really crazy. He won the ultimate European prize, the European Cup, first with Feyenoord in 1970, and then again with Hamburger SV in 1983. Doing this 13 years apart means he had to completely evolve. The game of football changes dramatically over a decade, right? But he did it with 2 completely different squads, in 2 entirely different eras of the sport. In fact, he was the very first of only 7 managers in the entire history of the sport to win the European Cup with 2 different clubs. Take a look at these staggering numbers. The crucial takeaway here is how consistently he turned good teams into absolute powerhouses. A nearly 72% win rate over 169 matches at Feyenoord, that's just video game numbers. And maintaining high 50s in fiercely competitive leagues at Club Brugge and Hamburger SV basically guarantees you titles. He wasn't just participating in these leagues, he was dominating them. Let's shift gears now to section 4, the 1978 World Cup run. So close to global glory. Happel took the helm of the Netherlands national team and led them all the way to the 1978 World Cup final against the host nation Argentina.
Taking a foreign national team to the brink of World Cup glory is a monumental feat on its own, especially when you consider they were stepping onto the pitch facing that incredibly hostile crowd, which, by the way, makes that blunt 2 points pre-match quote we talked about earlier even more legendary. Even though they fell just short, losing 3-1 in a grueling extra-time battle, his tactical setup proved beyond a doubt that he belonged on the biggest stage in global sports. And even without lifting the trophy, this achievement cemented a historic record. His run to the final tied the record for the best result ever achieved by a non-domestic manager in a World Cup, sharing the honor with Englishman George Rayner's 1958 run with Sweden. It goes to show he didn't even need to share a nationality or a native tongue with his players to get them to execute his vision flawlessly. Which brings us to Section 5, the man behind the tactics, cognac, cigarettes, and cards. Let's step away from the pitch for a second. Former player Birger Jensen described him as a bit of a loner. Happel never married, and he lived a very, very specific lifestyle. He was rarely seen without his trademark cigarettes and a glass of cognac. But he wasn't a total recluse either. He balanced out his intense tactical focus with simple Austrian social pleasures, relaxing with friends, playing card games, pool, and darts. He kept his life incredibly simple off the pitch and clearly reserved all of his complexity for his football formations.
All right, let's move to our final chapter, Section 6, an enduring Austrian legacy, the final whistle.
Unfortunately, that heavy smoking habit did tragically catch up with him. He passed away from lung cancer in 1992 at the age of 66. But his impact on Austrian football was so profound, so deeply rooted, that Vienna immediately immortalized him. They officially renamed Austria's largest football stadium, the Praterstadion, to the Ernst Happel Stadium. It stands today as a massive concrete monument to his legacy. But I think the most poignant moment happened just 4 days after his passing. The Austrian national team, which he was actually managing at the time, played a match against Germany that ended in a 0-0 draw. In a truly emotional tribute, his iconic cap lay resting silently on the Austrian bench for the entire 90 minutes. It was just such a poetic, quiet conclusion for a man who dedicated his entire roaring life to the beautiful game.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer today. Given his trailblazing records, those unparalleled win percentages, and his insane ability to win titles across 4 different countries, where does the silent master truly rank among the modern tactical geniuses that he paved the way for? Because when we look at giants like Guardiola, Ancelotti, and Mourinho today, we absolutely must remember that the blueprint they're using was drawn up decades ago by a quiet Austrian with a cigarette, a glass of cognac, and a truly brilliant footballing mind. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.